Welcome everybody. In this video we're going to be doing something different and we are going to leave our Wikipedia fighters behind and we're going to take a step towards something a little bit more real world. We're going to be trying to get graphics cards. There was a shortage of graphics cards because a lot of Bitcoin miners were just buying them out, so as soon as Nvidia graphics cards came out, they were just gone, right? What you can do is you can make a bot that is going to be scanning your shop on a schedule, searching for Nvidia cards as soon as one of them is out. Go ahead and add it to cart. Additionally, we're going to be taking a look at an HTTP client called Insomnia. An HTTP client, you can think of it as a middle step between the browser and Python. Let's say you want to play around with what kind of request you're forging. In our case, if we go to WikiFighters, the request actually in the main, the request that we're forging is rather simple. It's just a URL and you go there. Sometimes requests can be a little bit more complicated and we're going to take a look at how to use Insomnia in order to achieve it. Let's go ahead and get started. What I want you to do first is open up your browser and go to insomnia.rest. This link will be in the description. And download this browser, get started for free, download it, install it, and make sure it's open, and then proceed with the video. Next link that you should open from the description is overclockers.co.uk. This is going to be the option for trying to look for our graphics cards. Once you have downloaded Insomnia, go ahead and open it. This is what mine currently looks like. I don't have anything in here. First, you can create a project this way or this way. Let's create a new request collection. This is just going to be testing. Here we can then add an HTTP request. Here it is, and we can name it. So let's name this HTTP request overclockers search. Okay, we'll come back here and we're going to try to search for something and see what it brings back. Let's search for an video, and there we have it. One thing that you want to watch out for is if I cut this off, you can see there is no page reload. That means something is happening in the background. For this, we want to open up the network tab, and at the beginning, what may happen is you will get a lot of bogus requests. So let's say, I don't know, I'll search for something like chair. If new images load, you will see images being loaded, etc. If we search for NVIDIA, and then we'll basically scope to just fetch XHR. These will be the individual asynchronous JavaScript requests, okay? So JavaScript is a script that runs in the browser that will do these HTTP requests, just like our browser does, just like our requests package does, and just like Insomnia is going to do. It's JavaScript in the browser does the same. It makes these requests, and we can inspect these requests here, and that's pretty much what we've been doing. Okay, so sometimes the search query is going to be cached, so what I'm going to do is clear this out. I will re-navigate to overclockers. I'll clear this and I'm going to input NVIDIA. First of all, we're going to see this query over here and this request here. Let's take a look at this request. This is a post request. Let's take a look at the payload. This is what we're sending in the query string. And this is what we're sending in form data. Let's take a look at the response and see if there is anything here that we care about. And we do. We see an Asus gaming laptop. At the moment we are getting gaming laptops, so these must be the correct responses. And if you take a look, this response is quite big. Let's clean this up a little bit because, you know, we are looking for graphics cards. We will go up here into categories, PC components, and there we have it. We have graphics cards, and let's go into graphics cards. This should give us our last query over here. So this last one. So let's take a look at this. We'll take a look at the payload. Form data looks pretty intimidating. However, don't worry. First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to view source. This is just going to give us a bunch of JSON, which is all right. We're just going to make sure that what we're posting is indeed JSON. We'll come back to headers. We will go to the request headers, and we're going to look for a header that may refer to the type of content that we're posting. Doesn't look like there is anything here. Usually it would be an accept header, or actually there it is. So content type, we are sending form URL encoded. However, it does look like a JSON payload, so it seems like they're doing something weird here. Nevertheless, let's come back to Insomnia. We are going to change this to a post, right? So at the beginning, This is a post request. Let's do that. We'll change this to post. Here we have the URL. Let's grab it. We'll come back here and paste it here. So notice that we have these query parameters over here. In this query tab over here, you can set them manually and they will be appended to the end of the query. However, if you just paste them like this, you should be fine as well. So there's our URL. Let's leave it as is. Let's come back to body, drop down, and here form URL encoded. Okay, let's pick this option, and here you can see we can only supply key value pairs, which is a little bit like they are just sending a big blob of JSON. Let's just do that as well. What I will opt in for is just plain, and I'm just gonna put text in here. Let's come back here, payload. This is form data. Let's grab this raw data, place it in here, come back, and we're just gonna make sure that we're gonna set the same content type header. Let's copy the content type header, come to headers, and you can see here it says text plain. Let's change it to application xww form URL encoded, like that. One thing I'm gonna say that we're gonna do is we're gonna go into this drop down, we're gonna go into settings, and we're gonna make sure that we're not gonna send cookies automatically, and we're not gonna be storing cookies automatically. So that's what the browser generally does. When you send a request, you attach cookies, and when you receive the response, you store the cookies. You will see why we want to do that in the future, but for now, make sure you untick these. Let's close this window and send this request. And there we have it. So we have something. NVIDIA graphics cards. Okay, cool. And you can see availability is -2. So this is already gone. So which is this? PNI, NVIDIA, Quadro. So let's expand this a little bit. There we have PNI, NVIDIA, Quadro. We can probably try to see how much is available. So bought to order. So they basically don't have it in stock, but you can, I guess, reserve it or something. But the moral of the story is that, you know, bought to order, coming soon, or in stock. So for palette in video, let's come back here. I'm gonna try to search for palette. Enter, let's find it, and there we have it. Palette NVIDIA. Let's see if we can find something that talks about its stock. So here's the beginning of the object, and then we're gonna scroll down, and availability is 24. So looks like they have 24 of these graphics cards. So there is plenty that we can buy, you know. If they have like 30 NVIDIA TIs, maybe that's what we want to put into our cart, send a notification to our phone, and then go ahead and make the purchase and resell them on Amazon or whatever. So those are the kind of things that you can, you know, attempt to do. But anyway, the point is that, you know, we can reach these items. Let's see if we can try to navigate to them. Let's say if we open a URL like this, here is what it looks like. We can take the first part of the URL, place it over here, come back to Insomnia, and in here, if you took the time to look through this data, you will find the URL extension which we can just take, append, follow, and we will be able to reach this page again. All right, so if you are collecting some kind of data, you want to perhaps grab the URL of what kind of data you're collecting. So if you're displaying it somewhere, you can just click on the URL and follow it to the actual thing. Let's come back to Insomnia. We will collapse this a little bit. We'll come over to the plain text that we have over here, and let's search for NVIDIA. Here we can see what we're searching for, and if we take a little bit of a closer look at this request, looks like we're pointing out an array, but this is an array of requests that should be made. And index name are generally things like database indexes. So it seems like some of their database schema is bleeding into their UI logic, which is, I would say, is not top-notch craftsmanship, but might be all right. What if we want to just perform one query? Are we gonna get less objects than we would get before? So let's just hide this a little bit. Let's come back to the top. And for the results over here, let's try to collapse them. So we got 1, 2, 3. Looks like there is perhaps one for each query. So we have 15 results over here. And then if I collapse this, this is going to have 1 hit, whatever this is. And then this bit is going to have also 1 hit, which is some kind of object ID. I'm not sure what it is. So let's just make sure or verify that what we have are these 15 hits over here. We'll come back to the search and we found 15 items. So potentially, you know, as you try to get a feel for what it is you're trying to scrape, and nope, not sure what happened there. Let's hide the body over here. We are gonna sanitize our request a little bit. I'm gonna try to grab this last object. Looks like it's not playing ball. I'm gonna delete above yay much. I know that what I'm gonna have to do is close off this array, and then I'm gonna need to close off the actual object. So to do something like this, let's try to send this, come back, and now the request is a little bit smaller, so you're reducing the traffic that you're sending. Let's hide the hits. We just have the 15 hits, and we just have the single result. Okay, so if you're putting your scrapers in the cloud and they're making requests, potentially if you're making a gazillion requests a second, doing things like this can massively reduce the traffic that you're sending, therefore reducing the costs that you have to make. But more or less, here is the query. Again, if we search for NVIDIA, if we want to search for something else, we just replace this query. There is something of mention of categories right there. So, you know, you can build up your search through the UI, grab the query, and then put it into your scraper logic. So let's take this. Let's come back to our application. What we will do is we'll create a new folder. We'll call it wiki. We're going to take these 2 files. We're going to drop it in there. Move. We're going to copy init.py. We're going to paste it in there. And there we go. So a new folder. I'm just going to call this folder shop. I will create a main.py. Could be a little bit confusing. Could be, if we had more time, you know, we could sit here and lay this project out perfectly. Let's take our query. We'll place it over here. Let's jump back and make sure that we just turn it into a string. So just like this. One thing that we can actually try is we're sending a plain text here. What if we go to the headers and we just disable this header that we have here? Will it still work? And looks like it does. So we don't actually need to play around with this header. That's cool. Let's take the URL. So URL. And again, I'm going to jump back with home and then place a quote here and a quote on the end. And I'm jumping back and forth like this using the home and end key. So one is the query, one is the URL. Let's import requests. And let's try to call this. Requests, get, URL, and actually remember we're posting. So post, URL, and then data. Apart from data, we can supply JSON. If you're supplying JSON, this is going to change the content type to application JSON. We want the URL encoded, so let's take data, and we can just supply the string. Let's try with query. Come back here, response, and then we will print response status code, duplicate this, and let's also, because actually it's returning JSON, instead of calling text, we can call the JSON function, which is gonna give us back JSON, and we'll just print this. Now that we have this, let's come back to setup.py. Wiki scrape, we will have to change from scraping to main, so scraping wiki main. We'll duplicate a command, and this will be a scrape shop. Let's change the convention a little bit. Okay, so scrape wiki. This will have to go to shop main, and then the default function def default, like that. Let's indent this a little bit. We'll take default, come back to setup.py. Actually, it's already placed here. Let's open up the terminal. Pip install -e dot. That looks good. Let's use scrape shop, and there we have it. Looks like we are getting a bunch of items. not much else to say there. When you're doing response.json, you do not get just a string. So let's grab it. JSON data. Let's put it here. We will say print JSON data. So we're going to try to find out what type of data is this. And this is just a dictionary. Okay. So you can save this in a big file and try to look over it. However, you already have a place where this data is neatly organized right over here. If you look at this, this is JSON format, but it looks just like a Python dictionary. Okay. So we want the top level object, results, and then this is a collection, so we can loop over it. However, remember that we're just getting one result here, and then there was some kind of other metadata there, but we only have the single result here. So let's try this out. We have the JSON data. We want the results, and then this is going to be an array with only one object. Let's open this up. This is going to have a property called hits. So we're going to grab hits, and then these are going to be our individual products. So let's take a look at how big they are. I think that looks good. So yeah, products. Now that I think about it, hits and index name reminds me of a database that is specifically for optimizing searches. It's called Elastic Store. So, you know, something you want to Google, try set up locally, see if you can do anything there. Search for Elasticsearch. Okay, it's a document type database to store JSON. So that is what they're probably using internally, which is, well, I can recommend it. So we have a bunch of products here. Let's for each product in products, we'll just print the individual product, and then we're gonna break. So we're not after much, but we just want to see if we are indeed getting a product. Let's run scrape shop, and there we have it. So an individual product. Let's extract some information from it, okay? Or this could be information enough for you. So are you interested in this URL? Is it, you know, is it useful to you? Let's organize this a little bit. We'll say that these are results. It's going to be an array. And we're going to do something similar to what we used to do with Wikifighters, where we're just going to loop over the products, and then with Wikifighters we had to loop over individual HTML elements and look for them in succession. Here we just want to, you know, for each product, go ahead and map that product. So let's say def map product. We're just defining a function which is going to receive product JSON, and in the end it's going to return a new well-mapped or well-defined product. So our product generally has a name. Where do we have a name over here? Abstract name looks like what we're looking for, so product JSON, abstract name. We then want the URL, so let's grab the URL. We'll put the URL in here as well. However, we know that their URL is missing the domain. So let's go ahead and grab the domain. We'll place it at the beginning, and then we're going to take product.json, place it over here. Let's come back, or actually, where are we going back to? Insomnia, price. Could be a good one to have. Here we have GBP. I guess if you have a shop that does multiple locales, you can scrape multiple locales, see where they deliver, get the cheapest option. Okay, if you're interested in images, you could get the images, but let's just go for the price. So, price. And then we'll just grab this bit over here and just get the price. And hopefully you can see the picture. So availability, I'll just call it stock. You can call it stock number as well. Going to be availability, and then maybe stock type, which is availability status, which is bought to order. Maybe you want to be able to filter your product on stock type. Is it just regular stock type? So I apologize for pinging between the tabs, but Paltin is in stock, or Palit is Palit. So let's look for Palit. There's our Palit. What kind of availability status it is? It's available, right? So if you have available, stock, you know how much to ask for and if you should be asking for it, okay? So here you have an idea of what information you want to go for. The rest of it, we can grab it, okay? But we're not going to, because it's going to be taking time. Right, here's our map product function. Let's grab it. We are going to remove this piece of code and not print map product. We're going to put the product in there. This is going to get us the actual product, but we can take results, append. This is going to be a function, and we will just supply this to the function. This should put all of the products mapped into the results. And finally, we can just return the results. There are other things that we can do here. However, this will do for now. Again, you can employ other strategies like we did with Wikifighters, taking stuff out into its own file and then regulating what you want to search for, what information you want to get, do you want to chain collections, etc. And actually, we've been saving this stuff to the file, so let's take a look at that as well here. Main.py, we're going to have the results. We will have JSON dumps. Let's take about yay much. We're going to go into main.py. We're going to place this over here and import JSON at the top. Instead of output here, we'll just put output JSON. I'll remove the F since we're no longer formatting this string. I'll remove this bit here. Finally, what I will do is instead of dumping a string, we're going to take this a step further and we're going to say dump to a stream. The first parameter is going to be the object, and the second parameter is going to be FP, which is pretty much like a file stream, and it's going, IO stands for input output operation. So we can take the stream, supply it as a second parameter, remove the write, and what you're doing here is you have your Python object, you have your file, and you had this intermediate step where this Python object was getting converted to a string, and then from this string it was being written to the file. Now that middle step is missing and you're piping straight from a Python object into a JSON file. We can remove this bit here. We can return results if we want to, although not that interested. Let's rerun our application. So scrape shop, we just print the 200 from over here. Let's take a look at output.json. And there we have our sanitized data with availability, stock, etc. One thing, we have one extra slash, so we can go ahead and fix that. Let's remove the print over here, fix up the slash, rerun the scrape, and that looks good. Okay, this will be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section, or if you want to say thank you, make sure you come support me on Patreon. Big thank you to all of the people who are already supporting me on Patreon. Your help is very much appreciated. Hope you have a good day, and goodbye.